Hey everybody, welcome to the video, welcome to the channel. And this, by all technicalities, is our new world headquarters. In today's video, we'll take an up close and personal look at this old gymnasium, the good, the bad, and there's definitely some bad, and go over our plans on how we intend to repair this thing back to its original state, and how we plan on using it, and how it fits into the growth of our channel. Let's get started. As far as the history on this building, I really don't have a lot. It was the old school gymnasium when there used to be a school in this town. I don't even know where the school used to be. I don't know when it was built. I don't know when the school was closed. I should know those things, and I hope to find those things out with doing some little hunting and some information. But that's what it was. It used to be the old school gymnasium. The school left and got torn down somewhere, and this is what remains of it. So I'm sure some of you guys recognize this building from another YouTuber, Dirt Perfect. Mike bought this building years ago when he had a home construction company for storage. And as you can tell, it is filled with construction material, tools, and all sorts of things, and that's what they used it for. Just some good old-fashioned cheap storage to help get him by. Well, after they got out of the home construction, his needs changed just a little bit from what he needed to store, going from all the building materials and all the tools for home construction and moving over towards dozers, trucks, and other equipment and that type of thing, which obviously aren't going to fit in this building. Well, I mean, they would fit in it at least once, but then it'd be gone. So Mike started looking for other building options, things that he could purchase or build to store that equipment. And while he was looking for that, the Admiral and I had started the discussion for either building or purchasing something for more storage options for us as well. If you've been with us for a while, then you know our YouTube channel continues to grow steadily. And for that, we're incredibly appreciative of and very, very grateful for that. But we're at a point where we either have to say, we're happy with where it's at, we're just going to keep doing the things the way we're doing them, or do we take a leap and try to expand the channel and expand the resources we have and get something that we can grow into as we continue to grow the channel? So while we were trying to make the decision of whether or not we wanted to build something small to get us by for a little bit longer and keep limping our way through, or go ahead and take that big step and get a building we can grow into that can be storage, office space, whatever we need it to be as the channel continues to grow, Dirt Perfect gave us a call and said, hey, I found a building for all my stuff, or a place where I can build more buildings. You want to buy the old gym? And for us, the timing and the price was perfect. I won't tell you the exact dollar amount because that's kind of between me and him, but I will tell you 4 figures or less, and it was the amount that we had set aside to purchase a smaller building for storage. And we said, let's do it. And we bought the dang thing. So let's take a closer look at this thing. We'll start down below and around the outside. We're going to walk you through the plans we have, and we're going to do a little bit of figuring and planning for material so we can go ahead and get some stuff ordered. So as you probably noticed in the drone flyover, she's got some misshapenness to her. We'll head into the back. Now Mike still has quite a bit of his stuff stored in here, but you can see we've already moved some of our stuff down here. There's the boat seats. Some Ford 555 parts, some Ford dump truck parts, not too bad. So the back wall of this rig is a poured concrete wall. You can see that. They've got buttresses coming down. There is a pretty hefty cold joint from when they poured. See that? But structurally, it is sound and in one piece. Minus one major thing. She's fallen in a little bit. I do believe the buttresses has bought this building quite a bit of time. All the under supports are all oak, but they're in pretty decent shape. Not really any termite damage or anything to speak of as far as that goes. Structurally, they're strong. But here we come back to that problem. That's not your screen. That's the actual lean. And then when they built the front wall, that's built out of CMUs. With these extra supports here, and these supports are in line with where those buttresses are at, and these are core poured. I'm not 100% about the actual wall, but these are core poured. But you can see some crackage and a little bit of failure going on there. You take a walk around the backside. Now there are these 2 rooms on the backside, and what we've always assumed is maybe these either were or were going to be a bathroom at some point. You can see there's a pipe that goes somewhere. Not too sure about it. Definitely some graffiti. Carol loves somebody. Oh, Herbert. Carol loves Herbert. Good for them. I'm sure at one point this was just the coolest hangout for all the kids. No kissing. What kind of hangout is that? Oh, the old Lucky Horseshoe Club. Very cool. Originally, that door went all the way down, but at some point when they did dirt work on the neighboring building, they built that little temporary wall up so the dirt would flow right, I suppose. And then if you look down this wall, you can see where that bow is. And you can also see the sagging of the roof structure as well. So one of the first things we will do, we're trying to get some temporary shoring built for this winter, just to help this thing with any snow load, because it just seems like it's on its last leg, to get it through the winter. And then the summer we're going to come back through and try to rebuild this thing to what it originally was. In a weird order of operations, we're going to start with the second thing we're going to do to get this rig going, which is pour some footers and pour 2 additional buttresses on this side just to help hold that wall. The other thing we'll do when we do that is we'll reinforce these buttresses, make them pretty beefy, and we're going to pour a beam across the top as well, or build a beam. And then I can cut these CMUs out of here. That gives me an 8-foot wide opening, and I can actually drive things in there like the Fubaru or the 755 with pallets of stuff. That'll give me a tremendous amount more access down below and strengthen it while we're in the process. Well, let's go ahead and measure this out and figure it, and then we'll head up top and I'll show you what the plan is inside and we can figure material in there. Where we're at, it's a 3-yard minimum anytime you order concrete. So I'm going to try to dig these footers in the way that maximizes that yardage, but no waste. That would be 5 feet out, and I'd like to do it, let's figure that up, a 3x5 footer, 1 foot thick, and see where we're at on yardage. So concrete is ordered by the cubic yard. So to do this, all I do is I take, if I'm sticking to feet, 3 times 5 times 1 foot thick is 15, divided by 27, gives me 0.55 cubic yards, times 2, because we're doing 2 of them, that's only 1.1 yards. And that's a 3x5 by 1 foot thick footer. So I think the best thing to do, since we got to get 3 yards anyway, is let's go ahead and pour buttresses for these other 2 on each side, which will give us about 2.5 yards, which is pretty close to the 3-yard minimum. I think that'll do the trick. I'm using white paint because I'll have to call 811 to come out here, and 811 likes things to be marked off with white paint or marked with white flags or posts of some sort so they know where they're supposed to check. It's just kind of a generic mark that's centered up on there. That way they know where they need to look. Which is worth mentioning, utility-wise, I know the power comes in overhead. You can see that. There's a propane line on the side of the building over there, which tells me at some point somebody had a propane tank. I have no idea where the water comes in at. And as far as septic goes, haven't a clue, don't even know if it's here. I know that pipe runs somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where. Like I said, most of the stuff that's in here is Dirt Perfects, and he'll be moving it out to his facilities. But some of the stuff did go with the sale, including this mismatched ICF that is left. I kind of want to see how much ICF I have, because I might use that for the 2 outer buttresses. There's 3 in a bundle, which gives me 9 block there. And I want to pour these, you can see where their support stopped, but I want to pour mine all the way up. Let's just call it 9 foot by the time we get down on the footer. 5 foot, 9 foot. And since we're doing 2 of these, should be able to just figure it as a square. Gives me 45 square feet. A new DuraBlock is 18 inches tall divided by 12. Gives me 1.5 times 8. Is 12 square feet in a new DuraBlock. 45 square feet divided by 12. Means I need 3.75 new DuraBlock per buttress. So I can do the 2 outer buttress out of that. So we got the plan for what we're going to do on this bottom side for the initial stabilization of this thing. So let's head up to the inside to figure out what we need to do and show you how we plan on doing the stabilization and then how we plan on getting this thing back up to where it needs to be in the future. It is a little dark in here, but hopefully it shows up well enough on camera you can see what's going on. So you can see this center support. Whenever I used to work for Dirt Perfect full time, this was the first thing we did down here, and he bought this building. We put these 4 6x6s in, doubled 2x12 up top. And that's just to catch those rafters so this thing can't sag down anymore. Because the floor below, you saw it, it's solid. It's got a little lean to it, but she's solid. She's not going anywhere. So that took all that weight from the center of the trusses down. And since he's had it, we've kept a close eye on this building. We haven't seen any movement, which is encouraging. But if there's one thing I know about the way my life works, the day I buy this is the day it decides it's done, and it just blows out and gives up. So what we're going to do is add that same thing on both sides, center between that support and the outside wall. And I don't know if you can see it. So if we look up top here, you can see on the outer edge, what they did is they laminated a whole bunch of 1x6s together to make the truss. And it's solid up until right there. If you see that gusset. And then it splits off. So our plan is this second support we're building between this support and this outer wall is going to run right here, right where it splits off. Because that's where it has the most significant amount of sag. That's where I think it could possibly fail from a heavy snow load between here and here. So this is where we're going to add the other beam. And then the same thing down this side. And this is going to be the first step because it is December and heavy snow could be right around the corner. So I want to get this secured. The other thing to think about, one of the main reasons this support is so important, we've got our basement walls, we have our floor, we have our current roof. Okay, I'm seeing it. Listen, it's the shape of the barn. It's not my fault. Here's the center support here. When this starts to sag like this, it puts pressure on this outer wall and wants it to go that way. That is what causes these to want to go that way as well. So if we get another set of supports in here, that keeps the pressure coming down into the floor where it needs to be, instead of bowing this out and trying to pull that outer wall out and eventually down. Well, let's do some measuring. I need you guys to hold this end for me. 52 feet. Let's do whatever is closest to that. What we'll do is we'll divide 52 feet by 4, and whatever common dimension for lumber is closest to that, that's what will make it. Let's go with some 14 footers. That's not too uncommon. I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 14 foot. Now these are obviously treated 6x6 posts, but since we're just doing temporary shoring, I'm going to triple up 2x6s. It's about a third of the cost and it'll work just fine. I do need to somehow try to figure out the height of this, or where that's at. All right, easier way. These are 8, 16, it's 4 plus 16, 20. Let's call it 20. So what we'll end up doing, say that's a 16 foot 2x6, and then we'll cut a 4 footer, 16 foot 2x6, 16 foot 2x6, and then a 4 footer. We just lam it together to get the height we need. I just got to figure out how many I need. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4 minimum per post, 8 posts, 8 times 4. Just because I know some of you are going to wonder about the floor, it does still have all the paint on it. There is no logo in half court, but the floor's in pretty decent shape. There are some spots where there's water damage, but overall, it's there. I did find a ball. It's flat. Listen, I was a cross-country runner, okay? It can be a good time though. So the two big questions: how do you actually go lift this thing up and get it secure enough that you can take all these center supports out at some point? I'll get to that. The other big question is, how does this play into the growth of the channel? Well, the number one thing, you already saw downstairs a little bit. One, it gives us a place to store all the projects we're working on. Heck, over here you can already see I've got some of the Ford parts stored and ready to go. So as I'm scrolling through Facebook Marketplace and I see something that's like, hey, that would be awesome for some content and awesome for the homestead and the rental stuff one day, but I don't have time to work on it yet, I could pick that thing up, throw it underneath, and store it. I can also in the future develop that down there where I can actually work on things in there. Maybe a concrete slab, some bigger bay doors, that type of thing, which would be amazing. The other thing is this is just a huge space. If we wanted to make some offices in here, store some merch in here, whatever we want to do, this is the new office building. This is what we will grow into over the years, which means I'm fine with putting some time and money into it so it can actually serve a purpose for us. Keep in mind, this is the craziest thing to me, and I still don't quite understand it, but this channel started as a hobby. But the more we do it, the more we grows, the more revenue comes in, the more money goes out to maintain the channel. As this thing grows, we've got to have a space we can grow into so we can maintain it in a controlled, organized, effective manner so we can keep pushing this thing, because it's turned into more than I ever expected, and I'm hoping that continues, and this is going to be a big integral part of it. Oh, nice word usage. So how do we get this thing lifted up, locked into place, and secured so that all these supports can eventually come out and it is what it once was, which is a big open space? So once we get all these posts in place here and over there and on that side, bottle jacks is the answer. They're inexpensive, they're incredibly powerful. It's what I've always used to lift structures up and to level things out. We'll make it jacking stations on each one of these posts. We will lift the roof up one section at a time, little by little. One stroke on this side, get it locked off and secured. One stroke on that side, get it locked off and secured. One stroke in the middle, get it locked off and secured. You get the idea. And we'll keep going until we get it back to where it's supposed to be. It's time consuming. I gotta go slow and I gotta listen to the building. And sometimes what we found is when we're securing or lifting buildings, sometimes you just get to a point where, you know what, that's all the building wants. It doesn't want to go all the way back, and you may only get it 80 or 90%. But anything is gonna be better than what it is now. As far as how we get this thing locked into place, we're going to do it pretty similar to how they did before. They laminated some 1x6s together. And I don't know if they glued it or not, or how they did the lamination process, but for whatever reason, their lamination failed. We're going to do the same thing, except instead of going this same spacing, we're going to go every 8 feet with larger ones, like here and here and here. And then we'll run beams between those larger ones to catch the purlins in the middle. So imagine, if you will, I'm going to graffiti my own wall because I can. You see where these are at? Imagine this, glue lammed 2x4s, 6 2x4s glue lammed together, following that arch all the way across. And then 8 feet down, we do the same thing. And then every 2 feet, here, here, that might be closer to 3. We run a 2x6 or 2x8 between that glue lamb beam and that glue lamb beam, supporting the other rafters in the middle. Like I said, the concept is simple. The actual process will be pretty time consuming, and that will most likely be next fall. The goal this winter is to get everything stabilized so we can hang on to the building, utilize the storage in a safe way and not lose anything. And then next fall, really tear into this thing. And you might be asking yourself, well, Mike, how do you plan on straightening out these walls that are leaning out? Well, the answer is pretty simple. We don't. This is a CMU wall. I don't know if it's core poured. I know the columns are, but even if it is core poured, there's no straightening out a CMU wall. They just don't do that. One option is to run temporary beam on the inside, lift this thing up, rip this out and pour a new wall. But honestly, with the reinforcement of the buttresses on the outside, and if we get the top stabilized to where it's not pulling this wall out like we talked about, we'll probably just leave her as is. I don't think that's going to be worth the trouble, effort, or expense. And then once the top and everything's stabilized, we can come in here. We can either pour new pads for these posts and kick them out so they're good and plumb, or again, we can just leave them. Structurally, this way, she's pretty sound. It's getting that roof from coming down, because as it comes down, it kicks out, and that is what's pulling those walls out. So we've got to get that stopped so they don't go the rest of the way over. This is like the ran when parked version of buildings, you know? And just to try and give you an idea of the amount of space this gives me, let me venture over here. Are you even? There you are. Hey, how are you? It's a pretty big space. And oh, the possibilities. So there you go. The new Captain Kleeman World Headquarters. The next couple videos are going to be doing everything we just measured out. The first one will be building up the temporary supports on the inside, and then after that we'll start digging these footers and getting these buttresses poured. And then that'll give Mike the rest of the winter to get all of his stuff out of the way and cleaned out in preparation for getting the inside lifted where it needs to be and actually rebuilding all those trusses from the inside the way we want to do it. A lot of people are going to ask if this is worth it, and a lot of people are going to say no. But the people that own it, we definitely think it is. I appreciate you guys watching the video. I hope you tune in to see how this project turns out. And once we get through this, we'll be back on the dump truck working on that. Can't thank you guys enough for the support. It's you guys that's making this project happen. If I didn't have YouTube, we wouldn't have this, and I'm pretty excited about it. I can't thank you enough. I'll see you on the next one.